All right. Well, the kids are in bed. My wife is out, so I figured I'd do another session of coding along with this for the CRM. So, so for custom attributes, um, with this, there's a few different ways you could tackle this. So one would be to use something that's called entity attribute value. With that, you would have your main entity. So this would be your people or your companies. With that, you'd have your entity type definition, which would just kind of be pretty sparse in and of itself. But with that, you would say that each of the companies would have attributes defined for it. I suppose you could do this somewhere where we could have like per record attributes as well, but we're not really I'm not planning on doing that. So with this, we'll be able to say that companies, for example, might have number of employees or industry. And people, you might, if you're doing sales stuff, you might want to know what their favorite hot drink is, names of their kids, or something like that. We'll also want to use this for kind of internal metrics. So maybe first contacted, last contacted, number of times contacted, some stuff like that. So there's things that we would define, the system would define, but then there would be your primary ones would be ones that are defined by the administrator. So you'd have your entity type, and your attributes, and then you'd have a bunch of values. That value would be associated with the attribute itself and with the specific object that it was connected to. We're going to approach things a little bit differently. So we're still going to have those entity types and attributes, but instead of having a row in the database per attribute value, we're going to use JSonb, one JSonb column inside of the entity itself to have that information. I haven't done too much work to see how the performance of this is, but I think that it should be pretty reasonable. I expect most of this is going to be mostly going to be more read heavy. I know that with JSonb you have to write the whole entire field if you update any subfield. So if we're doing lots of writes, it's something that might be a problem, and maybe we want to segregate it or do something, but that's future Jonathan's problem. For now, we're just going to do a nice, relatively simple setup. Before we get into that, though, we're actually going to do one small correction from the last video. So in the last video, it was only complaining about a job that was repeatedly running, and I didn't see where it was coming from. So then all of a sudden I had a moment of insight, and I realized that I had been testing a few things beforehand, and I had that queued up job was still continuing to auto queued. That actually turns out that well, let me hop over here. So we have this Sidekick cron. So with the Sidekick web, we can view the web version of the kind of see what's going on in the queues. This adds a cron tab. Not to be confused with cron tab though. So with the cron tab, we can look in here and we can see this guy. So scan email accounts, that was something that came in from when I was playing with it earlier, and you can see that it has the hard job, which was a job that it was queuing up. So I'm just going to delete that, and we're going to be good now. So that's going to stop yelling at me in the terminal. Okay, so all right, so for this, we are going to Rails G model entity type. So for this, it should have a few things. So first off, it's going to have an account that's connected to. And I'm trying to think what the name of this should be. So this is gonna be the actual, like, the name of the class that it's connected to. So company or person. I don't want to call this. I kind of want to call this entity type. I believe I'll get an error if I do it just type. But let's try it. So we'll string. Actually, if I do Rails STI single table inheritance, I'm just gonna check and see what this does. Yeah. So with single table inheritance, that gives us this type of structure. But what does actual field names that it creates? Oh no, so it does let us do type. That shouldn't be a problem. Perfect. Okay. So account references, string type. I think that's all we need. Okay. Let's just check all these things. References, null, false. Type. This is also going to be null, false. Belongs to account. Sure. No tests right now. Usually when we'll have to give it a name. This one here will say nil, and we're gonna have a sequence for the name, and this is just gonna be type n for now. Okay. So we will have our entity types. That's going to be associated with account. So that's good. And we will need Rails G model T attribute. So I did kind of starting to think through this. I'm just actually grabbing some notes. Okay. So an entity attribute. This again is going to need a name. So this is going to be entity type, because there's going to be references. It's going to have a name. It's going to have a type, which is going to be an enum. And it's going to have a key, which is also going to be a string. Okay. So name is going to be null, false. Key is null, false. Type is null, false. And we're actually going to leave this for a sec because I'm going to need to Rails migration compound key compound. All right. So I want to add so this key in here needs to be unique on the entity type, ID, and the key. So we can't have identity type 1, key ABC, identity type 1, key 1, 2, 3. Like we can't have the keys be duplicate. So that should take care of that. Let's mess something up. All right. Now let's take a look at this. All right, so we have our entity types. So in here we can go and these are going to be on account 1. Name is going to be company, and the type is going to be company. And we're going to have person. Actually, do we want to have these plural? These should be plural. Okay. So let's add an attribute. So we can say for companies, the name of this is going to be industry. And the key is going to be industry. Type we'll say is string. And just to test this, if we create a new row, entity is 1, industry, and here we'll do something silly. And we'll do industry again. And it exists. Perfect. That's what we want that doing. So in here, let's say this is people, and we'll say favorite drink, and this will be favorite drink. Okay, so we've added a custom attribute for each one, set their type, and that kind of all works. So that's good. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to need to do is be storing that data. So Rails G migration add custom field storage. So add custom fields in here. We're going to add column to people, and the field is going to be I don't know. Custom attributes jsonb null false, and the default will be empty. And do the same for companies. Okay. And let's hop back over to so let's look at companies, and we're gonna say for macro hard, probably need to put a blank in there to check for that, but industry, actually, so this is going to have to be JSON. So industry is flooring. Okay, so I'm going to be having this added to companies and people right off the bat, but this custom field functionality could be going to a lot of other things. So this could be going to deals or projects or tasks. I don't know. So let's make this into a concern. So we'll say this is custom attributable module custom attributable, and we're going to go to the company and say include custom attributable. Okay, so this really doesn't do anything yet. So if we go over to the companies and sign in, and go to macro hard. Okay. So right now we have their information off the side. So let's add custom fields underneath there. So if we go to, so if we go to the views and we go to companies show, we probably want to put something here. So we'll do render, so what do we want to call this? I don't know. Does that read well? Sure. I think it's an okay place to start. All right, and oh wait, that's missing, of course. So you know what? That's the name wrong. So that's actually what we want this to be. Entity attributes / entity attributes. And this isn't a target, this is the entity. Okay, so in entity attributes, we're going to go in here and we're going to say what? So entity dot custom dot entity attributes dot each do I don't know. All right, so if we do this, what we're saying is that if we have an attribute called, what do we call it? Industry. We're going to be sending entity.industry. So the entity attributes isn't the actual attribute values. This is going to be the definition of them. So we actually will say something like attribute dot key. So this is going to get the attribute definitions, not the attribute values. Okay, a whole lot of here that's going to blow up. So we got entity attributes. So what is that? Well, so when this concerns, so this should be entity attributable. And let's move that up. So in entity attributable, we're going to have a def entity all right, so let's look what this is going to do. So let's just break it in here. Okay, so we have our self. You can go self dot class is going to give us the class itself. And if we go self.class.name, we get company. All right, so class name equals self.class.name. And here we can then do entity type. So we can actually do account.entity types dot find by type class type class name. All right, so that gives us our entity type. All right, so account has many entity types. The Rails magic is getting me. Can I do use type field without STI? All right, let's see if that will do it for me. So for our entity type, all right, perfect. So if we can now grab our entity type, perfect. All right. So then we want to do entity and I believe that I do not have, nope, has many. Perfect. Now I'm going to have the same thing with the entity attributes. Yep. All right. So that's the type of thing that immediately makes me go, should I rename this? Because if I'm going to potentially fight against Rails. I don't think that's going to happen in this case because I don't expect to be subclassing entity attributes, etc. But we will see if this bites me or not. All right. So undefined method, industry for company. All right. That is what that was expected. So there's a few things we can do here. There's a Rail jsonb. Oh, what is it? Attributes. Nope. Yep, we're going to be using, so the attributes API is how it defines things. for all the normal attributes. So we do want to be using that, but there's a gem JSON accessor, yes. So with this, I haven't tested it, but so this is going to say look in the data attribute for title, which is a string, has default and some other stuff. Okay, so let's try this. I haven't actually tried it, so we will see if it works well. All right, so if we want to do this, if we go to our company, but we didn't call that data, we called that custom attributes. And we'll do industry, and we'll say that's a string. So if we do this, then we can go into here in Rails, C, we'll do C equals company dot first, which is macro hard, and it has the, so C dot industry is flooring. If we go C dot industry equals construction, C dot save, and industry is construction. Great, so that works. So what we actually want to do is we want to do some meta programming here, because I don't want to have to type this out for everything. Actually, let me try this though. Industry, we can do industry, and let's do another thing of testing, and say that's a string as well. C dot testing equals foo, C dot save, and we have testing as foo, industry is construction. Great. So that works. We can actually define this one field per. So that's one way we could set this up. Okay. So let's go into. All right. So included do, and here's where I'm going to have to look up some docs. So let's just do this. Let's do puts entity attributes dot inspect, and terminal. Let's kill this and restart it. Actually, let's do puts that, and let's just go here and reload the companies. Oh, right. All right, so let's do reload on this, and let's see what the terminal is spitting out. just do that again. Make sure I didn't miss it because I got the error. All right, so starting up, worker, we have the web. Why did that not print out at all? Well, just for the sake of testing, let's pull this out and say when it's included, stick that in there because I think that should do. To bring that over. Actually, let's just completely exit out. Just make sure nothing's cached and being stored. Coming out first. So we're getting the testing industry. Good. If I comment that out. All right, so now we do have the custom attributes, but we don't have those other accessors. Good. That's interesting. So what I'm trying to do here is load the entity attributes, and with that I can then build up this and add it in dynamically. All right, well, this is probably something I'm going to explore with because it probably has... I always kind of stumble. I don't set up the kind of modules with includes concerns like this very often. So usually when I first set things up, I stumble over them a bit. So I'm running into that now, but you can kind of see the idea of what we're going for here. This is going to end up... we're going to do something like... attributes equals, well, attributes dot map, and this is gonna do, and in here we're gonna return, I don't know, attribute dot key and attribute dot type 2h, so that's going to convert that into the hash, and we'll pass that in here. That's the idea. So that's going to build up that hash dynamically. It's going to be able to put all that in. I doubt that this works. something, especially with that A equals B, that definitely isn't going to help. But I don't expect that this is working the way I want it to. Yeah, no. All right, well, something to play with and figure out, but that's what the idea is. So this is going to dynamically build all those attributes, and we'll be able to access them. And this actually will display them all on the other page. And so yeah, this is what will let me do that. Undefined method industry for company. So even if I just blank that out, which is where I'm going to be going. What did I do there? Oh. So we can see construction. So this here we could do. So this can be attribute name. There you go. So there we go. We're showing the custom attribute there, but we've hard-coded the way that it is getting those attribute definitions. So that's what we're going to want to be changing next, is really giving us this kind of concept here, not doing the hard-coded. All right. Well, till next time.